Triangulation is a particular problem for people with autism. Number one, because we often don't know what's happening. And second, if we do know what's happening, we're not really sure how to respond or the mechanism behind it. So let's talk about this because it's important. First of all, what is triangulation? Well, in very simple terms, it's when one person will pit another person against you. So you got three people involved. You got the guy, the girl who's doing the triangulation. And then you have you. That's the second person. And to control you, this person, this bad guy, gets another person involved, the third person in the triangle. And so now these two people are ganging up against you. That's a simple way to see it. But it often gets more complicated because it's often not two people against you. Often it's the triangulator, typically a narcissist. It's a triangulator who gets a lot of people against you. You've probably experienced this in school. You've probably experienced it in the workplace. Somebody just doesn't like you. Doesn't have to even be a good reason. You may have experienced it in your family. And so they try to get other people to join them in pushing you out. They just want to have control. It's all about control. And again, these people tend to be narcissists. The thing you got to keep in mind about narcissists is they have, I don't want to use the word because if YouTube picks up on it, they think you're talking about something else. But let's call it an uncommon craving. If you can think of a better word, let me know. Let's say, for example, you have this uncommon craving for chocolate. A lot of people do. So to satisfy your craving, there's one thing you really need, and that's chocolate, right? Well, let's say this person has an uncommon craving to satisfy their ego. Remember, we're not using the A word. So what do? Well, they need that chocolate, only now they need something that will satisfy their ego. Basically, it's the same thing. So the one guy needs a supply of chocolate, and the other guy needs a supply of people that will boost their ego. So we use the term supply, and you, guess what? You are the supply. The person is using you as the chocolate. You as the whatever they are, have an uncommon, uncommon desire for. That's to control you. And you may not even know they're doing it, but soon you see the after effects, the effects, and then the after effects of it. So here is a more technical term that I found on the internet, and it says that triangulation is when a toxic or manipulative person, often a person with strong narcissistic traits, brings a third person into the relationship in order to remain in control, or I would add to seize control or to take control. Two ways that you can get involved in that triangle. The one we're talking about now is you become the victim, but there's another way, and that is when you become the enabler. In other words, the narcissist wants to use you to control another person. Now you are the enabler. I have people in my life at this very moment, narcissists who are trying to control me by making other people in my life enablers. So what they do is they will befriend that other person, and the other person has no idea, just being a friend, But the narcissist, we'll call them that, or the manipulator, but the narcissist is using that person against me so she can control me. And this happens all the time. This isn't something, and I think this is kind of important to notice, take note of, that this doesn't just happen to autistic people, it happens to everyone. It's part of that social hierarchy that I talk about so often. It's just part of it. And we got to keep in mind that while other people in the social hierarchy are familiar with how things work, just innately, they didn't take a class on it, they just innately know how these things work. People with autism are blindsided. We don't get it. What in the world is going on? All right, now, first of all, let's talk about some of the impacts, and then we're going to get to the meat of the soul and heart, the meat of the presentation. But before we talk about the action plan, how to deal with this, let's take a very quick look at the impacts or the impact, plural impacts, of being caught up in a triangle as the victim. This comes from choosingtherapy.com. The byline is attributed to Nicole Arzt, licensed marriage and family therapist. So I'm just going to tell you what she wrote on in the article, because I don't think I could do any better. And most of what I talk about, is based on life experience, but this is somebody who has been trained, and they have 8 impacts. Number 1 is increased tension within family or group dynamic. So, that'd be any group, right? Number 2, intimacy issues with that special one in your life. Number 3 is ongoing blame shifting. I blame you, you blame me, I blame you, you blame me. That's why I don't get in arguments. No matter what you say, they got an answer to it, right? Maybe a stupid answer, but they've got an answer to it. And whatever they say, I got an answer to it. Maybe off the cuff, maybe nonsensical, but I'm not going to stand there saying nothing. I got to answer it, right? So ongoing blame shifting, arguing, just somebody says something, don't answer them. Believe me, it's amazing how effective that is. Scapegoating is number 4. That's a kind of blame shifting. Perfectionism, okay, to avoid being criticized, I'm going to remove anything that could be criticized. I'm just going to be perfect. Well, good luck with that one. That's not it. You could be as perfect as you want to be, and they'll criticize you for being perfect. Continuously doubting yourself, agitation and frustration. That's a big one for me. And passive aggression. You may not punch somebody in the nose, but you may get back at them some other way. Passive aggression. All right, so I came up with a action plan that I found that works in my life, but I got to tell you, nothing works perfectly. There's always something. But I came up with 4 things, and number 1 is stop and think responsively. I didn't say responsibly, but that would also apply, but I'm saying responsively as compared to reactively. Punch somebody in the nose, that's a reaction. You got to keep in mind that the problem is not you, it is them. So when somebody is triangulating you, you will think, I must be the problem. Remember, we talked a moment ago about trying to be perfect to avoid the criticism and the rejection. That's not going to work because none of us are going to be perfect. And it could be you're not doing anything wrong in the first place. You're trying to perfect something that doesn't need perfecting. You're trying to fix something that isn't broke. But they don't care. The narcissist doesn't care because his or her objective is to feed their ego. You're their supply. You're their chocolate. So they constantly want to be fed. Number 2 is be open with trusted friends and family. Got to be careful because in my life's experience, I'm really not very good at detecting narcissists, so I could trust somebody, a trusted friend, only to find out my trusted friend can't be trusted and is not a friend. Family members, well, if you're related, it's a family member. But I got to tell you, I guess I'm particularly blessed because I have one of the best families. And all the things that I've read that people go through, I've got one of the best families, grew up in one of the best families ever. Those 1950s sitcoms, Ozzie and Harriet and Leave It to Beaver and Father Knows Best. I actually grew up in, it wasn't as funny or as fun, but that type of family, that I had a good, hardworking father. I had a mom who usually stayed at home and took care of the kids, but she had part-time jobs to help with family income. They took care of us. They weren't abusive. Mom was a little temperamental, and you had to be careful when you got too close to her because if you got out of line, she knew how to smack you back in line in a hurry. I'm talking about a split second. But they were good people. My siblings, we didn't get along all the time, but typically we looked out after each other. There's always going to be something. But, I had a pretty good family. But maybe you don't. or maybe you have in-laws or someone who has come into your family from the outside. The larger your family is, there's more people, and the more people, the more likely there is that you're going to have people you're going to have a problem with. So the point of all that is to be open and trusted with trusted friends and family. But the challenge there is you don't always know who you can trust. And sometimes you just have to take a leap of faith. It can be challenging. Now, I added in my notes to be assertive because I'm thinking that sometimes it is good, this is number 3, to be open with the narcissist or with the agitator, whatever you want to call this person. I call them narcissist because typically they are. And you may want to just ask them, why are you triangulating? They may not even know what the word means. I mean, they know they're doing it, but they don't know it's a thing. To them it just kind of comes natural. So it's like talking, why are you talking? Oh, was I? Well, yeah, of course I was talking. But they don't know. A lot of times, some of them know they're being manipulative. They know they're being jerks. But you mean this is an actual thing? So you're kind of putting them on the spot. Why are you triangulating? And as we said earlier, this usually will elicit some kind of a response. They're going to argue with you. Whatever you ask them, they're going to come back with something. I'm not triangulating. They will say, you are triangulating. They don't even know what the word means, but they're going to blame you for it. But still, that's not the point. The point is you called them out, and they know you're onto them. Will that aggravate things? It may, but at least they know that you are watching and that you're not the pushover that they thought you were. Number 5 is avoid when possible. Number 4, rather. I've got 5 of these altogether. I think I said 4 earlier. I don't know. But I've got 5 of them. Number 4 is avoid when possible. You've heard that term gray rock. You just don't respond to people. You don't take sides, because if you do, if you don't take sides, sometimes you are enabling the narcissist because they are encouraged. But typically you don't want to take sides overtly. I don't have any problem letting other people know that this person is triangulating. That was point number 3, be open. Or point number 2, be open with trusted friends. I'm losing count. Number 1, stop and think. Number 2, be open and trusted. Number 3, be open with the narcissist. And just let them know. And number 4 is avoid the narcissist whenever possible. Go gray rock. Just stay away from them. But in my life's experience, that has not always been possible. In fact, if you work with this person, it's not possible. If you go to school with this person, it's not possible. If this individual shows up at family reunions, good luck staying away from them, because even though you're out of sight, you're not out of mind. Because they will be in a corner somewhere, not just a family reunion, but any social hierarchy. They will be out of sight, talking behind your back with other people, increasing the triangle, empowering themselves. Then number 5 is just be conscientious of self-control as opposed to impulse. We talked about this earlier, but you don't want to lash out at people, and I really do. That just seems to be the natural thing to do, is get in their face, yell at them, punch them, whatever. I don't think I'd ever do that, but you've got that impulse to do it. Another way that we react impulsively rather than respond is we will ask, why me? And so what's happening is we're blaming ourselves. This person is abusive. Well, why is this person abusing me? Well, must be something wrong with me. Actually, no. I mean, you're low-hanging fruit, but that's not a flaw. You are autistic, but that's not like you robbed a bank or something. I mean, you didn't overtly do something wrong. They are attacking you because of who you are. I put up a meme the other day, something to the effect is that it's immoral to dislike a person, let alone hate them, because of some immutable trait, like race or gender. Well, another immutable trait is being autistic. I think it's wrong to manipulate people, to dislike them, and a lot of people do. They dislike you because you're different, because you're autistic, and so they hate you, and that launches the triangulation. And we blame ourselves. And a lot of times these people, it's about control, and they like to control, and you're easy to control. Besides that, they just don't like you because you come across kind of odd. So that is the impetus that moves them forward, that drives them. So I hope this helped you a lot. If it did, and you have not yet subscribed to our YouTube channel, shame on you. Now's the time to hit that little button in the lower right-hand corner somewhere on your screen. A thumbs up will help, and if you've got something to add to the conversation, typically most of the comments I see are interesting. I read all of them. I respond to almost all of them. Our channel is still small enough that I can do that, so yeah, leave a comment in the conversation, in the comment section.